But anyways, let's move on to the inflation data. You guys get the picture. Going out to eat just really isn't worth it anymore. I hardly ever go out to eat. You know, we might go out to eat these days. Right now, when we're here, we're kind of going out maybe once a week or so. When I'm in Miami, I go out to eat even less because the food is more expensive and it's more inconvenient to go out. So I actually go out to eat more here in California than I do in Miami because it costs me less and it's more convenient. It's not a hassle. I don't have to get stressed out going to sit in traffic or getting stuck somewhere. Now let's talk about the inflation report. Take a look at this chart right here. You can see the consumer price index change from a year earlier. And what do you notice? Overall inflation is up 2.9% right now. Core inflation's up 3.1%. Price increases continue to rise, and the Fed is literally talking about lowering interest rates next week. Yeah, let's see where these numbers are going to go once they do that, if they do it. And let's not forget, the July reading for the CPI was at 2.7%. Now it's 2.9%. That's a pretty big increase in just 1 month at a time when they say inflation is supposed to be going down. We've already solved that problem. Take a look at this chart here for the consumer inflation for select items in the 12-month changes and how much things have gone up. Coffee is the highest one at almost 21% year over year. Auto repairs, that's a big one at 15% up year over year. Ground beef is almost up 13%. And you guys can see the rest of the list here. It just goes on and on. It's not just food, it's used vehicles, it's furniture, it's lettuce, potatoes, clothing, footwear, appliances, you name it. The unemployment data also spiked along with this inflation data, and it shows that unemployment benefits jumped last week on a seasonally adjusted basis, hitting the highest level since October of 2021. And this is also happening simultaneously with the slowdown in payroll growth, which means that wages are not keeping up with this rising cost of living. And this sustained rise in jobless claims is alarming because it signals that more businesses are not afraid to get rid of anybody anymore. For a while, there was a lot of labor hoarding going on, and people didn't want to give up any of their talents unless it was absolutely necessary. Well, now we've reached the breaking point where it is absolutely necessary. And guess what? All of this, you would think it'd be bad news for the stock market. No, no, no. Any kind of bad news these days is all good news for the stock market. In fact, US stocks rose on all this bad inflation and unemployment news, with all three major indexes on track for records, and investors now anticipate the Fed will cut rates at each of its next several meetings. So that's probably the reason why the stock market goes up. But you see, it doesn't matter anymore. Good news is good news, bad news is good news. Doesn't matter what's going on out there. The stock market seems to just not care. And you know, it's funny because the Fed likes to look at core inflation, right? Which excludes volatile food and energy, 2 out of the 3 major things we need besides housing, right? But even the core inflation is up even higher than the overall inflation reading at 3.1%. So these guys cannot escape this nightmare. This is happening, this is real, and they don't have any levers to pull. Lowering interest rates is just gonna make this whole thing a lot worse. You have lots of companies raising their prices and passing along a lot of their costs onto customers right now as well. In fact, companies like Smucker and Ace Hardware, Hormel Foods, they have all admitted to passing along a lot of their costs to customers these days, not only because of inflation, but because of the tariffs as well. And I'm going to show you guys a real world example of inflation and the tariffs with something that I've purchased over the past couple of years. Take a look at these Adidas shoes. I like wearing these when I go for a walk or just go out to dinner with Lizzie and we're going to somewhere casual. I like wearing these. They're comfortable. You don't have to tie them. They slip on and they feel really good. And they're not too expensive, right? And you can see that I bought these shoes back in March 15th of 2024. Then I bought another pair during the holiday season because I wanted to have an extra one. And take a look at the prices, okay? In March of last year, I paid $65 for this pair of shoes. In November, I paid $70, which is not a huge increase, a small increase, but it's an increase, right? Now, fast forward to today, you want to buy the same pair of shoes on Amazon, it is now almost $87, guys. You got over a $20 increase in less than a year. And I can guarantee you this is all due to inflation and the tariffs. Now, I'll put a link down below for anybody who wants to actually try these shoes out for themselves because they are comfortable. But there's going to be a point where these shoes aren't worth it anymore, right? It's already kind of there if you ask me. Like, they're just kind of foam. They're not really nice shoes or really expensive shoes. Like, they're not really super quality driven, you know? It's not handcrafted or anything like that. But even the cheap shoes now are becoming expensive.